Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the September 22nd board meeting for the El Dorado Irrigation District to order. Roll call, please.
Directors Penn, Mansfield, Dwyer, and Anzini present. Director Day absent. General Manager Vandier, General Counsel Polson, and Board Clerk Sullivan present.
Thank you very much. Okay, please rise and join me in the pledge. Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any board comments? Any public comment on the agenda?
If members of the public would like to address the board on the adoption of today's agenda, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak on the adoption of today's agenda, moved by Director Mansfield and seconded by Director Anzini. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, and 4 voting aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on, communications from the general manager.
Thank you. I have a recognition of staff from a customer. So the district received an email from Ted Chin, a local contractor and EID customer, expressing his appreciation for the outstanding service provided by Addison Campbell, a finance assistant, and Gina Pike, a development services technician. During a visit to the district office, Mr. Chin shared that from the moment he was greeted in the lobby by Addison to his meeting with Gina, he was impressed by their professionalism, competence, and the positive experience they provided. With years of experience working with numerous cities, counties, and agencies, Mr. Chin emphasized that his praise is based on extensive industry interaction and highlighted both Addison and Gina as valuable assets to the organization. One of our core guiding principles is delivering excellent customer service, and we commend Addison and Gina for their dedication and the positive impact they have on our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, and add our appreciation to Addison and Gina for that as well. All right, moving on to public comment. This is the time for anyone to make a comment on any item that's not on the agenda. Yeah. Yeah, please state your name and where you're from.
Oh, there it goes. Hi, board and staff. My name is Kelly Nalavaya. I am a resident in El Dorado Hills, but I'm very proud today to be standing before you representing a new organization in El Dorado County called Patriots of El Dorado County. One of our main missions is accountability to our elected and our staff of those elected departments within the county. So I'm very excited to learn more about EID. We recently did a little poll on Facebook and found that everyone overwhelmingly was shocked by this month's water bills. It wasn't just the 12% that we know was voted to increase every 5 years, which will add up in itself. It was tremendous. Some people are worried. You know, how am I going to pay for my water? I myself had a bill of $684. It's just me and my husband and our dog, and my husband showers at the gym. So we are watching and listening to see what's can be done for the people who currently live in here, and helping the everyday people who are extremely concerned. Some are angry, some are scared of what's going on within our utilities of El Dorado County. Obviously, our second biggest concern that we're watching is overdevelopment within our community as we see more and more applications for what could end up being between Marble Valley, Lime Rock, Town and Country Village, Gateway Express, Diamond Springs, and the list goes on and on. We could be looking at over 10,000 added residential units, and that concerns us. Where's the water? Where's the infrastructure coming, and who's paying for it? So I look forward to following your meetings more. I know it's very hard sometimes for people when they have 9 a.m. meetings. I work myself, so I'm squeezing in. I will be definitely chiming in by Zoom and following your agendas. And we hope that when we do ask any of you a question or for clarification on something, we'll have a wonderful communication experience with you all. Thank you.
For your very positive presentation there. We always encourage the general public and our consumers, our ratepayers, to participate in our meetings either in person or by Zoom. There's a lot of information. Hopefully by participating, you'll understand more the challenges that the district faces. And yes, we are your elected representatives representing you and your community. So thank you for your input. Sure.
I am happy you're here. Not very often, but often because I represent parts of El Dorado Hills. Not very often people come to me and say, I'd like to know more about our system. The water systems are very complex up here. And as someone who was an employee for a water company in the East Bay, it was easy for me to come up here and say, okay, this really needs to be adjusted. My water bill was $300, but I had a pipe broken and I did not know it was in my irrigation system. So I had to pay $80 more in 1 month. And it does happen where we've had tours, and recently we had some really good tours from people from El Dorado Hills and from Cameron Park who go on those tours and find out about the wastewater process, our water system, where the water comes from. And I look forward to seeing you often. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other board comment? Okay, moving on.
We have a member. Are there any additional members
thank
of the
you. Yes.
public with us today that would like to speak? We have one person online.
Hello. Let's see if the video is going to come on for me.
Hi, Chase.
My name is Chase Petley. Nice to meet you. My name is Chase Petley. I'm a local. I grew up here, homeowner in Pollock Pines. I am the weirdo that you guys see on the news in Lake Tahoe with the robots in the water. And I've always done my testing here at Slide Park Lake for about the last 10 years. Recently, I was at the lake testing my little robot, and the park ranger informed me that I could no longer do that. They made a new rule. And so I got it out of the water and respected that. But then I thought there's got to be a way that I could do it without breaking the rule, or at least work something out to appease whatever would be ruined or put in danger by me putting the robot in the lake. So I wrote to Mr. Penn. But Mr. Penn gave me a very short email, and I don't believe he really looked into it because he didn't even get my name correct. And then he forwarded the email to Dan Corcoran, and then I got a very short email from him as well. He called me another name, which also wasn't my name. But besides that, I just feel that you're in charge of the lakes, and you're doing your job as elected officials. And I would like to know how we can get a hold of you and talk to you to address things like figuring out how to make a deal where we can use the lake and do it safely and maybe make this a benefit for the community and help everyone out. So I've had like kind of a dead end trying to email, so I figured I'd join a board meeting and see if I could talk to you.
Okay, if I understand correctly, the issue is being able to use a robotic watercraft at Slide Park Lake?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll have to look into that and get more details unless,
Yes, staff did respond and provide input as to the issues associated with the request. I think the best way to work through this is probably to reach out directly and have conversation over the phone to try to figure out if there is a path around this. So we will reach out. We have email information that we can reach out to the customer and have that conversation.
Okay.
Best way to handle it.
Yes.
And
So the email that I received basically couldn't point me towards a rule that would actually stop me from doing it. I wanted to see the rule so I could appease the rules and find a way to do it without breaking the rules. But I'm pretty public. I'm like in the newspaper, on the internet, really open with what I'm doing. There's really no risk or anything compared to putting even a kayak or a boat in the lake. And I think with just a little bit of attention, it would be logical to allow me to continue doing this. But thank you for giving me your attention today. I do appreciate it.
okay, we'll have staff get in touch with you and we'll see what can be done.
and Chase, this is Paul. I apologize if I got your name wrong, but actually, General Manager Van Dier and I actually had a discussion about that issue. We were kind of banning about how ways in which we might be able to accommodate you and others that might have the same interest. So hopefully we will be able to come up with a viable solution.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate the input. And I assure you, it's totally safe. And what we're doing is for the right reason. And hopefully, maybe in the future, if you guys want something inspected below 100 feet or something that you can't get a diver to do, I'd be happy to volunteer to do that for you or anything we can do. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving next on the agenda, communications. Parvani, back to you.
Thank you. Today we have a project update related to the Slide Park intertie improvements, and I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Shaw.
Thank you, Ravani. Good morning, members of the board, Ravani and everyone. My name is Andrew Shaw. I am a senior civil engineer here at the district, and today I'll be giving a project update on the Slide Park Intertie Improvements project. As I speak and provide an update, there's a video on the screen, some drone footage that was shot by our inspector that shows the progress made on the pump station at Reservoir A as part of this project. All right. Since the award of the construction contract in June of last year, the project team has been working tirelessly to execute this critical project. The following update provides a snapshot of the project's current progress. For construction for the pipeline portion of the project, the contractor, Mozingo, has removed nearly all of the 18,000 linear feet of the old pipe, leaving only 3 small sections located underneath creeks. Mozingo has installed 8,500 linear feet of new pipe out of the total 22,400 feet, about 38% complete, subdivided into 3 pipe sizes. There is 14-inch fusible C900 or a PVC pipe. Out of the 2,000 feet for this project, all of it has been installed. The main portion of the pipeline, 24-inch welded steel pipe, We have 6,500 feet of the total 18,400 feet installed, about 35% complete. And we have yet to get to the 30-inch welded steel pipe section. There's about 2,000 feet of that will be installed later. For the pump house portion of the project, construction is approximately 65% complete. Mozingo has completed the floors and walls of the structure, and much of the electrical infrastructure has been installed, as well as 3 700 horsepower pumps and motors have recently been placed. Additional supporting elements of the pump station at Reservoir A are in various stages of construction. In terms of cost, of the project's nearly $59 million budget, $10 million of which was funded by a Department of Water Resources grant, the district has spent $21 million, about 36%. To date, there have been 14 contract change orders with Mozingo, totaling almost $1.2 million, which is about 2% of the total project budget. And the project team anticipates that this project will remain within its budget. In terms of schedule, the pump house is on track to be completed by the end of this year. The pipeline is expected to be operational by March of next year, which, despite an initial 3-month delay of the project due to survey issues, the contractor has recovered 2 of these months, putting the project approximately 1 month behind the schedule dictated by the DWR grant. It is important to note, however, that this schedule assumes that the pipeline construction will not be significantly affected by weather. Due to the project's location, an early or significant wet season may delay bringing the pipeline online. Outside of the portion of the project covered by the DWR grant, the remainder of that project for this schedule is expected to be completed on or ahead of its scheduled completion of February of 2027. And here is a quick overview. You can see an overhead shot of the picture. You have the site rather. The pump station is that portion in the bottom portion that has yet to have a roof. Above that, you have a switchgear and generator pad. The reservoir itself is in the top left corner. And there are also additional elements of the project in various stages of construction that you can see.
Project from the beginning because I think it adds to our water reliability. It gives us the opportunity to, and redundancy, to move water from the Slide Park treatment plant up to Pollock Pines and vice versa. The Pollock Pines water down to the Slide Park treatment plant number one, right? Or is it A? I was getting
Reservoir 1 is in Pollock
Thank you,
Pines,
Reservoir
yes.
1. And I think that's really important so that we can take those treatment plants offline to do needed repairs and upgrades and things. So this is a critical project that'll build in redundancy and help us supply reliable water. Other board comments?
Yes.
Or question?
No, I agree with Director Dwyer. This has been a long-time project by, I know, staff, but the redundancy is important for those of us who receive water down the hill. Our main source of water comes from the snow, and as it comes down that hill by the time it gets to my house in Cameron Park, it's been in the pipes for 10 days. But in the long run, the redundancy is really important, and the planning of that. And yes, it's very expensive. The project changes happened in 2020 while we're going through the COVID issues, and everything costs more. So as every time there's a delay on a project of this significance, it will cost us more money. In the end, darn it, it costs all of the ratepayers money. So I think it's really important the redundancy is there, which wasn't there before. And there's a few other projects that need to make our system hardy. And, and definitely the Caldor fire did not help. It set us back in finances, but, in the long run, thank you, staff. and you should be proud of your baby.
Thank you. Other board comments? No? Okay, thanks to the contractor for picking up the lost 2 months. I hope the weather holds and we can bring this to completion. And was there a 10% contingency?
Yes.
And they've only consumed 2% of that?
Correct.
Looking good money-wise. Stay on track. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Pramani? No. Jennifer, anything from clerk of the board?
Nothing today, thank you.
Thank you. Board members, anything else? Yes, Director Anzini.
Yeah, I have a concern, and one of the concerns is we had a major audit happening the last 4 or 5 months. And this is it was an ongoing problem that was reported to the grand jury. And my feeling is, I feel that a good deal of the people of our ratepayers don't understand the implications of what that grand jury report results were. And I feel maybe from the board, and that's just my suggestion, that we as board members accepting that, which we have accepted the grand jury report, kind of report out not our belief system, but how important it was that we are resolving some of the issues that came up. And personally, I see across from many constituents who are complaining and angry and using that as their reason to be angry. Everybody's angry these days, but it's okay to pick on a water company or pick on elected officials. It doesn't matter who it is. But my biggest concern is the accountability from this board to the general public. And I think that's important. Maybe that and I'm asking the board if they agree, and maybe we can talk to our general manager and ask her to come up with a letter signed by us to the public to understand the few things that were resolved, and to just kind of give some transparency to the public. And that is my suggestion.
Thank you. I think it's really important that we are totally transparent. So we'll take that under advisement and figure out what we can come up with.
And Director Anzini, just so that I understand and so that the minutes can accurately reflect, I believe what you're requesting is that the board agendize an item at a future meeting to discuss this more fully so that each of the board members can weigh in and provide their
Thank you.
perspective.
Okay, thanks. Just to reiterate, we did receive the independent auditor's report last time we met, and it was a clean audit. There were a few accounting changes, things were in this column that should have been in that column. But overall, it was a clean audit. The same thing with the grand jury. They said there was no malfeasance found. There were some accounting errors, but not anything that affected our bottom line. Okay, any other board comments? You guys are awful quiet today, making me worry. Okay, how about the consent calendar? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we need to move to the consent calendar. And do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Any board comment on the consent calendar? No? Okay, any public comment on the consent calendar?
If members of the public would like to address the board on the approval of today's consent calendar, please refer to the instructions on page 2.
Sorry.
Okay, Kelly Nalavaya, resident and Patriots of El Dorado County. And again, this is going to be a clarification question because we're learning along with you. My day job, actually, I am a paralegal in commercial construction industry. So whenever I see contracts and construction contracts, my radar goes up. Within your board, are all of your contracts that we're talking about. I see, we have several, item 3, well, quite a bit. I think item 4. Do you go to bid and go with low bid, or do you do direct contracting on these contracts?
I'm going to refer that to our legal counsel.
Thank you. Yeah, great question. The board has adopted a procurement policy, and in that policy, it's Administrative Regulation 3060. You can find it on our website. And it goes through exactly the standards and requirements that the district adheres to when it procures contracts for goods or services. There's lots of laws that relate to public contracting, so I couldn't, go through each and every one of them, but the short answer to your question is yes, we employ competition for every procurement. Some of those procurements for construction contracting on public works projects, for example, require that the board award to the lowest responsible bidder, and we do that. Other procurements, such as those for professional services, for engineering type activities and that type of thing, don't require the lowest responsible bidder, but they do require the district, pursuant to its adopted procurement policy, to provide the best value to the district. And there's some, there's some judgment that goes into that, but in every case, the district is employing competition and awarding to the either the lowest responsible bidder or to the best value for the district.
For the item on the consent calendar, those are on-call or task order type contracts. Is that correct?
Item 3 is not. That's a contract to Hawk Consulting. That's not an on-call contract, and you can quickly tell that because it exceeds the on-call contracting dollar amount, which is up to $100,000. So that is a one-off contract, and we issued, I'm assuming that we issued an RFP, a request for proposals, evaluated the proposals, and then are recommending that contract based on the staff recommendation, which is described more fully in the agenda item associated with number 3. And that goes for all of the contract awards that are on the consent calendar.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment?
If any additional members of the public would like to address the board, please refer to the instructions on page 2. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any additional members of the public wishing to speak on the approval of today's consent calendar, moved by Director Penn and seconded by Director Anzini. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, and 4, voting aye, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to information item number 7, the mid-year update for our financials. Looks good. Revenue's up, costs are down. I like it.
Good morning, President and members of the board. My name is Madison Franklin, and I'm the Interim Finance and Accounting Manager. Today, I will be presenting our second quarter financial update ending June 30th, 2025. Previous board action. Every quarter, the board receives and files a financial update which compares budget to actuals from January 1st through the end of the associated quarter. The first quarter financial update ending March 31st, 2025 was received on May 12th. Finance staff plans to incorporate the quarter 3 year-end projections within the 2025 through 2026 mid-cycle operating budget, which will be coming to the board in November. As of June 30th, 2025, the district has recorded $68.2 million in revenue, $26.7 million in operating expenses, $19 million in debt service payments, and $13.1 million in capital improvement plan project expenses. beginning with revenues by category, this table presents actual revenues versus budgeted figures for the quarter ending June 30th. Quarter 2 for 2024 is shown on the left, and quarter 2 of 2025 is shown on the right. As of June 30th, 2025, total revenues are $68.2 million, which is about $3.6 million above the 6-month budget. Compared to this point last year, revenues have increased $10.2 million, which we will go into further detail on in the next slide. In the past, we have seasonally adjusted the budget for water, wastewater, and recycled water sales. This is the first financial update where we have also seasonally adjusted hydropower sales, property tax, and recreation revenue per board direction at the last financial update. Expanding the seasonal adjustments to these additional categories provides a more accurate picture of when revenues are actually received, as these adjustments are based on the timing patterns which we typically see throughout the year. For all categories without a footnote, the 6-month adopted budget reflects 50% of the annual budget. For grant revenue only, the full annual budget is presented. The current year-end status of grant reimbursements is pending outside agency review. On top of the $6.7 million already received in 2025, we have submitted another $1.7 million in reimbursement requests and are awaiting approval from the outside agency. If we do not receive the full $9 million in 2025, this revenue will carry forward to 2026. This next table is similar to the last slide, however, it presents the variances for year-over-year actuals instead of a budget to actuals comparison. In the bottom right corner, you can see the year-over-year variance for the second quarter of $10.2 million. Notable year-over-year revenue increases include a $3.3 million increase in water, wastewater, and recycled water sales and services, which was partially due to the board-approved rate increases, and an increase in consumption earlier this year. A $1.2 million rise in property tax revenue, a $727,000 rise in investment income as a result of interest earned on the 2024A bond acquired in November 2024, a $2 million rise in FEMA reimbursements associated with work for the hazard mitigation program, and a $6.1 million rise in grant revenue, which was as expected. This was primarily for the grant reimbursements associated with the Sly Park Intertie project. Other variances in revenues compared to this time last year include a year-over-year decrease in other income of $1.7 million. This is primarily due to a one-time insurance reimbursement for storm damages received in 2024, which we do not expect to recur in 2025. Additionally, our sale of vehicles and equipment has decreased in 2025 following a significant inventory cleanup over the last couple of years. We also had a variance in FCC revenue from prior year. This is only due to the variable nature of when FCCs are paid. The estimated total annual budget of $11 million is still considered accurate at this point in the year. This next table presents actual expenditures recorded by category as of June 30th versus the 6-month adopted budget. All categories' 6-month budget reflect 50% of the annual budget. Similarly to the first table presented, we have included quarter 1 of 2024 on the left and quarter 1 of 2025 on the right. As of June 30th, 2025, total expenditures are at $26.7 million, which is approximately $8.8 million under the 6-month adopted budget. Compared to this point last year, expenses have decreased by $2.9 million. As seen in the table, total expenses are comprised of materials and services and net personnel, which is made up of salaries and benefits and labor offsets and reimbursements from developers. As of June 30th, 2025, personnel expenses are $15.9 million, and materials and services are $10.8 million. Even though net personnel is trending under budget by $2.4 million, by the end of the year, we are projected to meet the full annual budget. This is because as of June 30th, 45% of pay periods have been recorded in the financial software, meaning greater expenses will occur in the second half of the year. In general, due to the highly seasonal nature of water district operations, expenditures do not occur evenly throughout the year, and more costs are expected to be incurred in the later quarters. In reviewing and analyzing current trends and projections, the district is currently on track to meet the overall annual expense budget by year end. This is an informational update only and no board action is required. I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Just thank you for the update, and the more we can get on this, the better.
Great.
I would think that it's important to note that all of this information is transparent, available to the public. You can go to our website. If you look at last year's report, you can do some of your own investigation and math. Last year, if you divide the total water sales by the total number of service lines that we have, you end up with about $90 per month per customer. Now, granted, that was last year, and we have a 12% increase. So the average, that's what that's saying is for all our customers, the average water bill is about $100 a month or $200 bi-monthly. If you're, PG&E puts out a report that says, here's the average for people in your neighborhood with similar houses, and you're above or below. I'm usually above. But so that kind of information is available. And if you're significantly different than that, it's time to investigate, like Director, like Lori says, to see if you've got a leak or maybe if you have a swimming pool or overwatering your lawn. I'd caution people that live in HOAs that sometimes the HOA actually controls the amount of water that goes into the landscaping. So there's other things to look at besides, and yes, you can still be angry about your bill, but we all need to make sure we are as well informed as we can be. Okay, thanks. No board comment on any public comment on the financial update?
If members of the public would like to address the board on information item number 7, please refer to the instructions in today's agenda.
It's just me again. Okay, so if we see this great trend, we love seeing income higher than expense. At what point could we rediscuss these rate increases?
That's a really good question. And we don't have a profit. We don't have profit sharing. We're a public agency. So those, what would be in traditional accounting, retained earnings would go into paying for our infrastructure upgrades and avoiding a new bond issue, which is what we're trying to do. It's just right, as of the last time I checked, we have $70 million of deferred infrastructure improvement that's not in our capital budget. The system has been deteriorating for years, and many of our pipes are 60 years old with a 50-year lifespan or thereabouts. So we need to use that retained money to keep our infrastructure whole. It would be nice to give you a bonus, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, I shouldn't have sat down.
Okay.
If you ever want to meet, we can meet, so.
I'm trying to do it as public as
If you want to address the board, can you come up to
Yes.
the microphone, please?
I didn't know if I got 3 minutes. Because I know one of the concerns when we see this income and expense, and you're talking about what we need to stay for infrastructures. One of the biggest things people in the survey we did were saying is, where do we find the transparency with all these developments? We're building infrastructure. Now we're actually going into Folsom Heights, south of 50. In these expense reports, where are the taxpayers paying and who is paying for all of this infrastructure that is going to be new to fund the water? And where do we see that on these budget sheets in terms of the agreements with the developer?
Those are good questions. I'd encourage you to meet with Director Anzini. The short answer is the developer pays for all that, and they pay to hook up to our system for every unit, significant amount of money. So I think it'd be best if you talk to Director Anzini.
It's just basic 101 on how water's delivered, and it's the ratepayers who pay, not the taxpayers. They get their own bills, property owners, et cetera, and HOAs are responsible for a lot of our problem. So let's meet if you want. You find me on the email, and we'll set up a time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Okay, moving
If
on.
there are any additional members of the public wanting to speak, please refer to the instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any additional members of the public wishing to speak on information item number 7.
Okay, thank you. Now on to something a little more fun than the numbers. Our centennial celebration. This is the 100th year and EID has been in business. So we're going to have a little get together and Karen's going to tell us about it.
Good morning. Here we go. I'm Karen Cross. I'm with the district's communications division. Today, in February, we provided information.
Hold on,
Oh, it's
it's not
stuck.
working.
Hold on one second while we fix our. I'll start all over again.
Okay,
Okay. We ready?
yes.
In February, we provided information on the district's communications plan for a centennial year.
I have to interrupt you real quickly. That first photo you showed there, that pear orchard is actually a vineyard that I manage today off of Cable Road. So 100
pic
years later,
was a
it's
great
still in
pic,
production.
wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Those are your pots?
As we move through the presentation, we will go over some of the public communication and outreach efforts, as well as the Centennial Celebration Program. In the right corner, you'll see a photo of a floating tub. These were used in the 1920s to transport equipment and people down the flumes and canals during construction. You'll see an example of their use later in this presentation. We've been promoting our centennial year through our website, social media, newsletters, and community events. In the left corner, you'll see an example of one of our Facebook posts, which was also shared on other social media platforms, Nextdoor, Instagram, and X. The picture to the right corner is of the rotating banner on the district's website homepage. Each month, we have featured a different theme about EID's history and our services to the community. We had an exciting public outreach opportunity to partner with Arts and Culture El Dorado to collaborate on a photo and history exhibit showcasing historic photos, artifacts, and community stories that reflect EID's infrastructure development and legacy. The exhibit opened in late August and runs through October 5th. Another amazing opportunity was former General Counsel Tom Kempson's presentation on the history of EID, which included historical water rights and the role of the agricultural industry. Both the exhibit and the presentation were very well attended. I attended the exhibit and I highly recommend the experience. Our goal has been to commemorate our milestone, marking 100 years of service to the community. This event presents a unique opportunity to honor EID's past, highlight our accomplishments, and increase the district's connection with the community. In the left corner, you'll see the floating tub in action. Pictured on the right is a 21st century piece of equipment that helps our staff do their job today. The event will take place on Saturday, October 4th from 10 a.m. to noon, right here at the district's headquarters. The event is free and open to the public. Pictured on the right is our digital invitation announcing the centennial celebration. The event will feature exhibits and several pieces of the district's large operating equipment. There will also be information booths that include district services and customer resources. Staff will be available at the event to answer questions from those attending. And we'll have a special appearance from the Hangtown Marshals and Stagecoach. This slide includes the program timeline. We will begin the celebration at 10 a.m. with a melt welcome from our board president and additional remarks from staff, including our general manager, as well as a presentation from one of our partner agencies. At 10:45, the open house will begin, and the celebration will conclude at noon. Pictured here is the El Dorado Powerhouse, taken in 1923, which is part of the Project 184 hydropower and water conveyance system that the district obtained in 1999. This important slide lists the Centennial Committee members. Staff have been working diligently, and their efforts have been essential in making this celebration possible. I would also like to acknowledge the support of additional staff members whose contributions extend well beyond this list. It's a team effort to bring an event like this together. The top picture shows construction work of the Central Valley project for Sly Park. The bottom is a photo from 1922 during construction of one of Project 184's flumes. This is the front page of our latest waterfront, featuring an article on 100 years of water quality, innovation, and infrastructure. We look forward to welcoming the community on October 4th as we celebrate 100 years of service and look ahead to the next century. This is an information-only item and concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you to all of the staff members that contributed time and energy to put this together. I'm sure it's going to come off great. I think it's important for us to recognize our history to know how we got to where we are, and so we know how to move forward, or maybe some cases how not to move forward. So I would also encourage you to continue your relationship with the various agencies and museums, and maybe we can, once we're done with our presentation, maybe we can loan some of our material to the museums so that they can have another exhibit. Into my thing. Any other board comments?
Just, the evolution of this district over the past 100+ years, because we, assume so many things from the 1800s, is really remarkable in how complex the system is and how maintaining it is such a challenge. It really does put things in perspective, and thanks to everyone for their hard work.
I have a great team.
Yeah, I don't know if I made a copy, or maybe staff did, of the stock that I was received as a gift when I was first inaugurated in. Stock was 1847.
Yeah, probably.
That's
around
when
there. That's
when
for the Western.
EID, no, it was when the Water Corporation was established here. And it was a private, because the water coming down the creeks from Placerville and everything had to do with the industries just beginning, rather than turning over from timber, which it was still used, those flumes were used for timber, coming down to selling water in Placerville. So, I mean, we're surpassed the centennial, and there are so many different water companies that are so old, but we're definitely one of the older ones.
Yes, we
And-
are.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other board comment? Any public comment on this item?
If members of the board, if members of the public would like to address the board, please refer to the instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear any members of the public are wishing to address the board on information item number 8.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen. And thanks to all your staff. too. You don't have any staff, do you? Okay. Action item, moving on to item 9, the on-call contracts.
So, President Dwyer, I'm going to recuse myself on this item.
Understand, thank you.
Good morning. Elizabeth Leeper, Senior Deputy General Counsel for the district. I do have the pleasure of presenting this item for the board this morning. I do want to recognize that really this reflects the work of contract staff that I have the pleasure of supervising, specifically Donna Hampton and Megan Cuff. And I also wanted to recognize that our senior buyer, Ryan Deacon, is present, and he handled one of the 2 procurement efforts that I will be highlighting today. So I'm just the spokesperson. So for your consideration today is the on-call contracts for professional services and general services for the 3-year period of 2026 through 2028. So we do have existing on-call contracts. Those are set to expire at the end of the calendar year. So in anticipation of that, we actually issued 2 distinct requests for proposals. One of those is to handle what we call on-call professional services. The other is what we call general services. And as a result of those efforts, we are recommending award of 89 on-call contracts. 75 of those contracts are for professional services as reflected in the notice of intent to award included in the board packet. The other is for 14 contracts for the on-call general services also listed in your board packet today. So why do we do on-call contracts? They save time and money. So those are both limited resources here at the district. And so really what we can do is we can issue a single procurement, and it can cover a 3-year period. We save our staff time and resources where we're not doing individual procurement efforts for each time those needs arise. And then really we're targeting services that we have frequent or routine needs for. And so because these are common services that are required for the district, by having essentially a pre-qualified list of service providers, we can quickly mobilize for those tasks through this on-call effort. And we do have a lot of utilization of our on-call contracts. So here I'm just highlighting one single year within our existing on-call contract period, 2024. We issued 119 distinct tasks totaling over $3.7 million. So we do get quite a bit of use out of these on-call contracts. And then another important thing to highlight is at the time that we do this procurement, we require that all proposers actually identify their hourly rates for the entire 3-year period. So this creates some cost stability as we've witnessed in recent years. There can be a lot of market fluctuations in pricing. And so by essentially requiring an hourly rate specified over that 3-year period, we do create some cost stability over the contract period. And then it's important to highlight, we're really not guaranteeing any particular level of work. So this is not a not to exceed contract, for example. Really, this is a pre-qualified list of service providers. But we still retain flexibility regarding, for example, if we felt that we still wanted to go back out to the market for a particular item because we wanted to, get more interest, perhaps more proposals, we can still do those separate issuances, or we can turn to the on-call contracts. So we still have a lot of flexibility. And then a couple parameters, and our general counsel briefly touched on this in comments before. So some of the parameters of our on-call contracts are specified in our administrative regulation. Specifically, these are designed for what we would characterize as small projects. So at the time that we are identifying a task, if it's estimated to be $150,000 or less, that is our threshold for the on-call contract task.
Importantly, we still want to have board oversight and approval for any procurement of over 100,000. So if there is something estimated to be over 100,000, that would still come back to the board for distinct approval. And so anything that's estimated to be over 150,000, we will do a separate procurement process to make sure that we're continuing to get competitive pricing from the market. And so I'm not going to go through each of these, but this is the 18 distinct categories of professional on-call services that we sought proposals from. I'll just mention that item 14, painting inspection, we did not actually receive any proposals on that item. So you'll see in the board packet, there's no contracts associated with that particular service category.
Quick question, does that cover tank coating in that area, or?
No, I think this is more general paint inspection. Typically, our experience for coating inspection is it likely would exceed that $150,000 threshold, and I believe that is accurate. Yeah, so I think it really depends the price point. It could include the tank inspection if it was a smaller dollar item. And so for the professional services that were listed in the preceding slide, we did receive over 120 proposals in response to that request for proposals. We basically comprise a team of reviewers for each distinct category, and then that team reviews all proposals received. They basically rank and score the proposals, and then as a result of that effort, we are recommending the 75 on-call contracts that essentially had the highest scores within each category. And then turning to general on-call services, as I mentioned, this procurement effort was administered by our senior buyer, Ryan Deacon. In an interest of fluidity for this presentation, I'm going to cover this as well. So there were 12 categories of general services for this procurement effort as listed here. And in response to that, the district received 21 proposals, similar review and scoring effort of a team review. And then as a result of that review, we are recommending 14 on-call contracts covering 12 categories of services. And therefore, the board option is award 89 contracts to the 66 companies listed on the notices of intent to award for on-call services and professional services from January 1, 2026 through January 31, 2028. We are recommending option 1, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
No.
I'll move one.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item?
This is my alley. Kelly Nalavaya. I'm sure council will answer this. I caught on the list that some of these are labor-involved contracts. I think I saw plumber and something to do with mechanical. So how are you balancing when you have these contractors that they're adhering to prevailing wage, DIR, minimum insurance requirements, and all that stuff that I do for a living, and making sure that we are, not utilizing companies who are circumventing that, which is very easy to do if there's no accountability with making sure you get copies of their DIR filings and things like that, because I'm assuming that those labor-oriented categories do follow under DIR prevailing wage.
Yeah, that's correct. And before the district accepts proposals from bidders, it checks to make sure that they're appropriately registered with the Department of Industrial Relations, that they're registered, and then we follow the prevailing wage laws that you referenced to make sure that our contracts require it, and our staff checks all the necessary boxes on each of those procurements.
So we're doing also not just assuming yes, we have a department that collects their certified payroll.
I could speak to
please.
that. There are numerous requirements, and it sounds like you're familiar with them.
Yes.
So our procurement documents will reflect basically that they're required to be Public Works registered contractors. Then staff will register those contracts that are prevailing wage Public Works contracts with DIR. And then they submit those certified payrolls to DIR directly, so they don't need to submit them to us. They submit them directly to DIR.
Right, but do you follow up with also saying it's easy to say you did it, not necessarily that you did do it.
So we're following all of the legal requirements regarding Public
So what you're
Works
saying is we don't necessarily also as part of their progress payments and things like that, you're not asking them to send the receipt from DIR to ensure that the certified payroll is sent to DIR?
Actually, all the questions, both councils have been answering your questions, but the public comment period is for you to address the board. If you have detailed questions, you can submit them and we can get an answer to you.
And I respect that.
in
I
writing.
just think it's important for the public to make sure that we are following.
Understood, understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Dwyer, we're happy to go offline and
Okay,
share.
great.
Yeah.
Please do. Okay, any other public comment?
If additional members of the public would like to address the board, please refer to the instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any additional members of the public wishing to speak on action item number 9, option 1, moved by Director Mansfield and seconded by Director Anzini, with Director Penn recusing himself.
President Dwyer, may I just address the board momentarily? I want to just make sure that it's very clear, following up on Director Penn's recusal. Director Penn shared information with me prior to the meeting and asked me to provide him advice on whether or not he has a conflict of interest. I've reviewed the information that he provided and determined that he does not have a conflict of interest because he has no financial interest, as that term and as as Government Code Section 1090 requires. So nevertheless, to avoid any appearance of impropriety, Director Penn has decided to recuse himself, notwithstanding that he has no actual conflict of interest. So I just wanted the board to know and be reassured that there is no material conflict here. This is merely Director Penn wanting to recuse himself in order to avoid the appearance of impropriety.
Thank you, and we respect that. Thank
Right, and I always say that there are 3 levels. You know, there's a conflict of interest, the potential for a conflict of interest, or the perception of a conflict of interest. I have none of those, but just to, make sure everything's on the up and up, I decided that would be the appropriate thing to do.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready for the vote. Please vote.
Division 2, 3, and 4, voting aye, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10. Where's Patrick? There you are. Did you bring your knife?
Samples?
Patrick, you have the softest door close of any staff member.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Been working on it. All right, good morning, Board. Patrick Wilson, Senior Civil Engineer, today presenting on the Green Valley Bridge Relocation Project. So this is for award of construction contract and funding request. So previous board actions, the board did approve funding for the amount of $50,000 for the Green Valley Bridge Relocation Project back in 2017. This effort was actually to pothole existing utilities that were deemed by El Dorado County to be in conflict with the bridge relocation. Therefore, the district went out to verify that that was accurate. We did identify a handful of pipeline segments that were not in conflict with one of the bridge segments and ultimately will not have to move as part of this project. And then in November of 2022, the board did award additional funding of $60,000 for capitalized labor associated with completing the design of the project. Subsequently, the project has been in the adopted capital improvement project at 2025 through 2029, subject to funding availability. Next slide. So the summary of the issue, El Dorado County is in the process of replacing both bridges of Mound Springs as well as Indian Creek on Green Valley Road, of which these bridge relocations are affording a realignment. Unfortunately, because the district has 2 pressure reducing stations in that alignment without any prior rights, we are required to move and relocate those 2 pressure reducing stations that are in conflict. And ultimately, we're looking to relocate both of these in advance of the bridge project to minimize any potential conflict with their contractor, as well as any other utility relocations that are going on. This also includes PG&E, who's relocating, as well as AT&T. They're relocating their utilities. We're first to the punch, if you will, by getting in and doing this relocation in advance of the project. So just an overview of the locations. So shown in orange there, we have 2 pressure reducing stations that are more or less kitty corner to each other right off the edge of Green Valley Road near the Mound Springs Creek Bridge. Next slide. So this is Green Valley pressure reducing station number 1. As you can see, the valves themselves internally on the right-hand side are at life cycle. This station was slated for replacement, but was waiting until this project had moved forward. Obviously didn't want to upgrade this station, then have to move it at a later date. This project, as you can tell by the project number in 17035, was in 2017. We were notified by El Dorado County. At that time, we were itemizing out which pressure reducing stations, as we do annually, to figure out which ones we were going to upgrade. This one was identified, however, has been on hold as part of this project.
8 years.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a good picture of our deteriorating infrastructure.
Yeah.
One of many.
One of many. Next slide. So Greenstone pressure reducing station, not as bad, but it was also identified as a top priority to get replaced because of the amount of customers that it does serve. This station, again, was offset to wait for the relocation efforts as part of this project. El Dorado County did have an extensive right-of-way project in addition to just the design elements of this that were required to provide us with an area on the other side of Green Valley Road where we can actually implement these stations. That was finalized approximately 4 to 5 months ago, so we've been working on getting this project out to bid and awarded. Next slide. So for construction bid, it was advertised in July. A mandatory pre-bid was held on August 20th, and bids were due on September 3rd. Doug Veerkamp, General Engineering, was the apparent low as seen here. And the engineer's estimate, just for reference, was $600,000 to $650,000, in that ballpark. Next slide. With environmental review, the project is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act as part of Class 1 maintenance and repair of existing facilities and Class 3 new construction of small structures. Just for reference, both of those pressure reducing stations are below grade. Whenever we can, we try to install them above grade to minimize any confined space entry needs in the future and make them more accessible for staff to maintain. Next slide. So for project funding, Doug Veerkamp General Engineering awarded the construction contract of $618,677, construction engineering services for $22,000, on-call construction inspection services of $77,700, on-call material testing for $18,000, capitalized labor for construction management of $40,000, and with the 10% contingency brings the project total to $854,015. So board options. Option 1 is to award a contract to Doug Veerkamp General Engineering, Inc. in the not-to-exceed amount of $618,677 for construction and authorized project funding of $22,000 for construction engineering services, $77,700 for construction inspection services, $18,000 for material testing, $40,000 for capitalized labor, and $77,638 for contingency for a total funding request of $854,015 for the Green Valley Bridge relocation project number 17035.01. Recommendation is option 1.
Move 1.
Thank you, Rick.
I'll second.
Comment on this item.
If members of the public would like to address the board on action item number 10, please refer to the instructions in today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any members of,
Okay, thank you. Are we ready for the vote?
did she say she has a question?
No.
Ma'am, do you have a question about this item? Okay. It does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to address the board on action item number 10. Option 1, moved by Director Penn and seconded by Director Mansfield. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, and 4, voting aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Patrick, except every time I see you, it costs money. We're ready to move on to item 11, the upgrade for treatment plant in El Dorado Hills.
Good morning, members of the board and the public. My name is Sifang Shan. I'm a senior civil engineer with the district. So the purpose of this presentation is to seek the board's approval on the design change order and its funding request, and to provide a project update to the board and the public. Here is a timeline summarizing major significant board actions and the updates related to this project. Starting in 2019, the district began the phase 1 water treatment plant assessment work. That work looked at the conditions of our major equipment and assets in our treatment plants and evaluated any issues in terms of capacity or compliance. And that work took about 2 years. And in 2021, we began the phase 2 assessment work that provided master planning for each individual facility based on the phase 1 discoveries. And shortly after that, the district also started the system master plan that looked at not just our treatment plants, but also the transmission mains, storage tanks, booster stations, etc. And then in August 2023, the board received a review of all the recommendations that came out of these studies. And in June 2024, the board toured the El Dorado Hills water treatment plant. And in August 2024, the board awarded the design contract to Hazen Sawyer to begin the engineering work for the El Dorado Hills water treatment plant improvement project. And that project has since then been renamed to El Dorado Hills water treatment plant upgrades to more accurately reflect the essence of work. As mentioned, part of the agenda is to seek the board's approval on the design change order. The need for the change order is because the original scope of work was largely developed based on very conceptual planning. And during design development, we realized that it provides construction synergy to the current project and provides cost savings for near future necessary projects if we merge the scope together. Additionally, we also revisited some of the previous assumptions made during the conceptual phasing plan and realized that the benefits of latest technology outweigh the then perceived drawbacks. So some of you here are probably already familiar with how the project came into being. So for those who are not, this is a very high-level recap. During the sister master planning, we realized that between El Dorado Hills, Res 1 and Res A, the 3 water treatment plants in the main system, there's enough treatment capacity to treat demands through 2045. However, our transmission system cannot convey that much water. And to make things more complicated, all the foreseeable future developments are concentrated in El Dorado Hills and Cameron Park, which is located in the western end of the system, whereas the majority of our treatment capacity, Res 1 and Res A, are located on the eastern end of the system. So to push more water from the east to the west is risky, and that risk is now localized for customers in El Dorado Hills or Cameron Park. that excess water or demand puts strain on the transmission system, and it needs to travel from the east to the west, so potentially affecting customers along the whole route. So because of this, the master plan provided a short-term and long-term plans. The short-term plan was to increase the local supply capacity at El Dorado Hills water treatment plants to meet the near-term demands increase. And for long-term, we will work on the transmission system upgrades to increase the capacity and improve the reliability of RISE 1 and RISE A. This is a very busy graph illustrating the prioritization of all major water CIP. And they're color-coded by their functions. So the phase 1 projects that were originally scheduled between 2024 to 2028 are the projects in the red boxes. So the first one, the dark green projects, are priority 1 water treatment projects, which are basically to set up the El Dorado Hills water treatment plant as a new conventional treatment plant at 24 MGD. And the light green are El Dorado Hills transmission upgrades, which will open up the hydraulic bottleneck outside of the El Dorado Hills water treatment plant and allow 24 MGD to flow into distribution. So zooming into the El Dorado Hills water treatment plant, this is a graph plotting the historical production data from 2013 to 2023, about 10 years of data. From the top to bottom, the orange dots are the single max in that year in terms of flow rate, and the gray dots are the 3-day average max in that year. And the blue dots are the average annual rate for the plant. So we want to focus on the trend for the orange and the gray because typically maximum day demand is what's used to size and evaluate treatment plants in terms of reliability. And you can see that between 2013 to 2023, we are slowly inching towards the 18 MGD plant capacity. The plant has a permitted capacity of 19.5 MGD. That's what I've been reading, but realistically, the reliable capacity at the plant is about 18 MGD. So if we were to follow the linear extrapolation, we can see that we're going to be crossing that 18 MGD limit within the first half of the next decade. And looking into the more recent production data between 2022 to 2024, in the peak months during summer, we often have to run the plant at over 18 MGD for extended periods of time. So 12.5% of those times, the plant was run at over 18 MGD for more than 8 hours. And the maximum duration the plant was run at over 18 MGD was 15 hours. That happened just last year. We mentioned that a part of the scope of the upgrades is to convert a plant to a new conventional treatment plant. And that's because the current treatment process, which is upflow clarification, is more suitable for mild, consistent loading environment. And Folsom Lake, which is the source water, is not the same as what it was 40 years ago when that treatment process was selected. So in recent years, the plant has been challenged with certain natural events. For example, a storm brings in tons of turbidity, and that will quickly take up the space in the filter media, resulting in the filters needing backwash much more frequently. So when the filters are in backwash, they're not in production. That takes away treatment capacity. Also, wildfires, which have become more common, releases metals and organic matters into watersheds. So organic matters, although we're only required to remove organic matter on a percentage level, organic matters are precursors to disinfection byproducts, which does have a quantitative upper limit that we have to meet. And algae blooms sometimes are associated with wildfires, sometimes they're standalone occurrences. They change the chemistry of water. It takes away the oxygen, changes the pH, brings in turbidity. In addition, several of the algae species are toxic, and they're on the pending list for regulations and are highly anticipated to be regulated in the foreseeable future. So here I'd like to take a break from talking about the project and moving on to the change order clarification, justification, and then at the end, we'll come back and provide a project update for the project. So as mentioned, the original scope of this project was largely based on conceptual planning. And that planning broke down all the recommendations for the El Dorado Hills plant into 3 priorities. Priority 1 was to set up the backbone of conventional treatment process at 24 MGD. And priority 2 projects were chemical and high-lift pump station upgrades. And the last priority, priority 3, was to expand the plant to 36 MGD. The original scope of work are the items in the blue boxes, which is all the priority 1 recommendations and the high-lift pump station upgrade, upsize. The scope of the change order are the items in the red boxes. The first item is changing disinfection process from clear well expansion to ultraviolet system, UV. So compared to chlorine in clear well, UV brings many more treatment benefits. It removes disinfection byproducts. But disinfection byproducts are produced when we mix chlorine with organic matters. So by reducing the amount of chlorine that we'll be using, we reduces the amount of byproducts we'll be producing. Also, UV is very effective in activating cryptosporidium, which is resistant to chlorine. And additionally, UV will be contributing to disinfection credit, which has been limiting the timing and the quantity, and how much and when operation can use the clear well water. So by having a dual disinfection process in the future, UV plus clear well, operation has more flexibility for plant use. Oh, sorry, I forgot to cover the second item for the change order is the chemical system upgrades. So currently, we already have 2 chemicals that are undersized in terms of storage, orthophosphate and caustic. With those chemicals along the treatment process to help unit process to achieve their performance goals and for compliance. So by upsizing the treatment capacity, we will naturally be using more chemicals, and all the chemicals need a certain minimum of days of storage for for operation reliability. And to construct this as a new separate future project after the plant will have been upgraded will be complex and costly because the current chemical systems are scattered across the plant. Some of them are in buildings without removable ceilings or walls. So we realized that by bring up the priority of chemical system upgrades, it provides construction synergy to this current scope, and also it saves costs for a necessary near future project.
So, I have a question. We're basically recommending that we change the process from a chemical predominant treatment to an ultraviolet predominant treatment, which will reduce our need for chemicals, except for the fact that we're increasing the volume from 18 million to 24 million. So how does that kind of balance out?
So the UV only contributes to reducing the use of one chemical, chlorine. It's only used for disinfection. The rest of chemicals that we use for coagulation, other treatment, help the particles to settle, those remain unchanged, and those need to go up in size because of the change in capacity.
So as the volume increases, we need more of those?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. This project will require CEQA review. In 2007, we completed the program environmental impact report that included the scope of this project. So for this near future efforts, we'll be looking into if any amendments or changes needed for the existing EIR. So this is a summary of the funding request at this time. We are requesting $516,170 for Hazen Sawyer for the design of the proposed chemical centralization upgrades, and then also UV, and $100,000 for environmental services, for a total funding of $616,170. The background on the Hazen Sawyer contract is they're current at $5.8 million. With this change order, it will bring the new total to $6.4 million. For the project has been funded at $6.6 million so far. With this change order, with this new funding proposal, will be at $7.2 million. The 2024 to 2029 CIP allocated $99 million for the project, and that's only part of the project cost because of we're only looking at 2025 through 2029. So here's the project update. We have just completed 30% design. In that design, we have determined design criteria for each unit treatment processes and the sizing, the layout of our major basins and equipment. We very much focus on the constructability and the facing during design, because the plant will need to be in construction during the course of, operation during the course of construction. We also did extensive work on cost estimates to best predict the financial burden to the district as best as we can at 30% design level. Here's a 3D rendering of the new treatment plant. So everything that has an orange call out will be new. So you can see we're mostly expanding from the center of the plant towards the south and west. Several key considerations we took during design. First is expandability when applicable. That means we reserve space, provide connections, select equipment or process that will allow for easy expansion in the future without adding significant cost to the current scope. Also will be significantly improving the operational flexibility at the plant, allowing the plant to handle varying conditions of water at a much higher capacity than it can currently. Also, we are designing the plant to be able to handle reasonably foreseeable regulations in the future. Last but not the least, we conducted extensive outreach with other water agencies when it comes to equipment, process, permitting, and compliance to best position ourselves for future construction and operation. The construction cost for the project is currently estimated at $147 million. That includes a 27.8% of contingency and the 18% of escalation factor. The total project cost is estimated at $176 million. That includes the $2 million spent to date and this current proposed change order. Detailed design of the project will continue through summer next year, and final design is anticipated to complete by winter next year. Aside from design, we have also begun our conversations with Division of Drinking Water, our regulatory authority, to begin their review process. And we have also initiated a plan to conduct a public outreach. This plant is located next to a middle school, a community park, and a one-way road. So we're developing a plan to proactively reach out to individuals, organizations, entities that will be impacted by this project, and work with them as much as possible to minimize disruptions to their daily life and operations. So for the change order, option one, board option is approve a change order to Hazen Sawyer in a not to exceed amount of $516,170 for the design of centralized chemical storage and ultraviolet treatment systems, and the authorized project funding of $100,000 for environmental services for a total funding request of $616,170 for the Dorado Hills Water Treatment Plant Upgrades project. Yes, yeah, recommending option one.
I'll move approval of of
Option
this
one.
project, of option one, I'm sorry, looking at the other page.
In a second.
I'll second.
I have a question, now that we
Okay.
have it on the floor. How many residents, or let's just say, how many hookups does this involve? Does that water treatment plant provide? How many?
I don't have the number for customers connected currently, but it will include the current customers and all the future, foreseeable future developments.
But you don't know the
I don't know
number?
the number of this.
I know you know the number.
I'll guess about 30,000.
Yeah, 30,000 people? I mean, residences.
Liz Carrington, engineering manager at the district. I don't have numbers, but I can say this services the entire community of El Dorado Hills as well as portions of Cameron Park. Seasonally, we will serve portions of Cameron Park from the Upper Hill stores or the Lower Hill stores. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a number, but I at least can speak to
Okay.
the range. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other board questions or comments? Director Penn?
It's just an indication of aging infrastructure and the shift in demographics of the county, and just how when we put in these projects, they're supposed to last 50 to 100 years, and so the costs are astronomical, and they're going to go higher, and it's a challenge. But if we need to provide safe and reliable water, this is what we have to do.
Thank you. Any other? I have a question about the contingency. You had 18+% contingency when we normally do about 10. What, is that because of the uncertainty or what?
And this is, due to the current design level, so we had two factors. One is for contingency, that is due to the uncertainty of current design level. And also another factor of escalation, because the project will be constructed in a span of 3-4 years. So we're also including the escalation, the cost escalation there.
Thank you. There's no question about the technology. We're not pushing the limit on the ultraviolet. That's well established, and the risk is low.
Industry approved.
Okay, thanks. Any other board comment? Any public comment?
If members of the public would like to address the board, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda.
I'm going to concur. 18% is, I wish I could get that kind of contingency, and I do 2- and 3-year projects too. In terms of your change order policy, because there's not detail in here, if I'm hearing this correctly, this is an add of services. This isn't the contractor necessarily within the body of their original contract asking for additional money. When these change orders are issued, is there somewhere for the public to see? Do you have them break out, value engineering wise? Do you have a percentage in your contracts for limits on increases of change orders from the cost? 5% or 10% would be normal. We all know that contractors, including myself, love change orders. So it often can be a mechanism also abused if you don't have accounting mechanisms in place to say, this is going to take me X amount of hours, here's my material. My contract says I can mark my labor up 5%. I can mark up my materials 10%. So how do we know the body of this change order, and any change order really? It's kind of a generic question.
Thank you.
So good morning, John Money, Director of Engineering. So this is a design contract, so there is no markup of labor. This is additional scope of design, and that's what we're asking for today. As far as the 18% contingency, that is very standard. So as projects proceed through different levels of design, it's very typical for the contingency to come down. So we would expect that when this goes out to bid at 100% plan design, that contingency would be around 10%. However, the design is not done, and so the 18% for the total cost estimate anticipates that there's going to be other components that the design engineer has not taken into account or fully designed at this point, and that's what that 18%. It's the unknown for the design before the engineer finishes their cost estimate for the project.
If any additional members of the public would like to address the board on action item number 11, please refer to the instructions in today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any additional members of the public wishing to speak on action item number 11. Option 1, moved by Director Anzini and seconded by Director Mansfield. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, and 4 voting aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Do we have any assignments to review? Jen?
We have one review of assignment from Director Anzini regarding agendizing the letter that she referenced under Board of Directors comments.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, meeting adjourned.
10:36 a.m.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good.